Hello and greetings, my friend. Welcome to the next episode here, Red Delta Project Podcast, live feed Q&A here on the RDP YouTube channel with another video and session to help you be fit and live free. I'm your host, Matt Schifferly, and today's topic is basically looking at a little more under the surface of what makes micro workout strategies so darn effective. I find these sorts of realizations and exploratory videos, and sometimes you can find these in books and stuff, so very important for our motivation because we're not going to take consistent action unless we feel like what we're doing is effective. And every once in a while, it is a good idea to kind of go down a list and realize why your habits can be so effective, because there's a lot of demons out there saying it can't work because of this and it won't work because of that. Because at the end of the day, our lives and our fitness destiny is governed far more by our beliefs and how we feel about things than our knowledge and what we have learned with like logic and education. Because the bottom line is, if you don't feel something's going to be effective or can work for you, you're self-sabotaging. Your emotional subliminal conscious will self-sabotage at every turn. It doesn't matter if you're on the most effective workout or diet program in the world, you're going to ensure that it fails if you feel like it's not going to be effective. So these are kind of like the numbers in the lists to get back to reality on why it can be so effective. Now, before I jump into why it can be so effective and what you can do to make it more effective, I want to first recognize a couple of truths that bring about some of the doubt. Is that people will say, well, it's such a short workout. Don't you get what you put into your training? Wouldn't doing more produce better results? And the answer to that is most of the time, yes. For the most part, there's a very heavy correlation between doing more hard work and putting in more time and effort and getting better results. That is absolutely true. And to a large degree, you will get more if your workouts are much harder and much longer and more frequent and much more taxing. But there's a very big asterisk to that, is that you only will get those better results if you can sustain that level of intensity and those hard workouts on a consistent basis for a long period of time. Okay, several years ago, I rode up Pikes Peak, for example. Now, this was a hard bike ride. This was 3 solid hours on the bike going uphill the entire way at altitude, finishing off over 14,000 feet. It's one of the few times I've ever gotten actual altitude sickness. And it was an absolute sufferfest. It was one of the hardest workouts that I had done that year. Now, couple that with the fact that I live in a fairly urban area and I park my car about a block or two from my apartment complex here. So every time I go to my car, I have to walk a block or two. And then when I get back into my apartment, I come back. And my schedule is very hectic. So sometimes I end up going to work 2-3 times a day. So let me ask you, what is more effective for my health, management of my weight, my general longevity, and the ability to manage my health and fitness? And the answer to that is, it sure as heck is not the Pikes Peak ride. Because even though that took a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of energy, walking to my car every morning is a much, much bigger influence simply because I'm doing it on a regular, frequent basis. And that's the reality we all have to face when it comes to diet and exercise habits, is that nothing you do will work if you cannot consistently do it more and more over time. And as I say, if you can't commit to something big, commit to something small. It's not the big or the small that works, it's the commitment. I know there's the idea, like Kobe Bryant used to talk about how he would do 2 workouts in the basketball court, 2 workouts a day, sometimes before noon. And his logic was, well, think about it this way, right? If I did 1 practice session and my friends did 1 practice session, but then I did a second one, that's 50% more, or technically 100% more than my friend just did that day. And if you do that day after day, week after week, month after month, over the course of like 5 years, you've got this massive gap between what they've been able to do and what I've been able to do. And he's absolutely right, provided you can do that on a regular basis for very long periods of time. But the thing that ruins and handicaps most people's ability to get the results they want is not the fact that they can't put in effort. It's they can't put in effort or are unwilling to put in effort over a long period of time on a consistent basis. So micro workouts, first and foremost, work extremely well, not because there's a lot of effort, but because it's consistent, because you can do the thing daily or weekly on a regular basis for years on end. So not only does that produce vastly superior results, it also produces results you can absolutely keep. Because I've done things in my fitness career where I have put in a lot of effort for several weeks, several months, hell, even a couple of years at a time. But as soon as I couldn't maintain that level of intensity, I would oftentimes regress significantly in that habit to the point where I was barely doing it all. And of course, you just lose it all. And that's perfectly fine if you're willing to or happy with losing those benefits, because you don't need every benefit all the time. But if you don't want to lose it, you have to keep those efforts going. And if you're always going at your max level, that's kind of like spending every dollar you make paycheck to paycheck. You're going maxed out, you're going all out 100%, and it's going to take the smallest little thing to trip you up and make you crash. So that's why micro workouts can work so well, is because they result in more consistent effort, more sustained effort, and they also kind of keep you away from that proverbial cliff that can lead to more burnout, loss of motivation, and loss of motivation. Another big reason why micro workouts can work so well is because think of a diminishing rate of return. Okay, you go in for your workout and you hit the major big things first, the major exercises that contribute the most for you, and you get that done in 20 minutes. And then you start working on accessory work, and then you start working on other things that might be beneficial, some stretching, some foam rolling, things of that nature. After 90 minutes, you're finally done. But if you really got honest with you, what part of that workout was really the most effective? What created the biggest impact? You're probably looking at what you did during a 10 to 15 minute stretch during that workout anyway, because not everything is an equal influence towards your results. And so we have to recognize that even if our workouts are long, a lot of that may not be all that effective or productive. And so the reason why micro workouts work is because they help trim the fat from your workout. So like, okay, if you could focus on the things that are most effective, focus on that. Plus, you're going to get most of your stimulus from the initial part of your workout. There's some sort of aspect of human behavior and psychology. I forget what it's called about this, but basically it's like you have a diminishing rate of return of an effect when you are engaged in something over a sustained period of time. Now, when I was learning about this, they were talking about chocolate cake, right? And they're like, okay, if you had that big, huge, massive piece of chocolate cake, right? And you brought it home from a restaurant, for example. Now, you sat down and you ate that entire chocolate cake. The first like 5 or 6 bites were like, oh man, this chocolate cake is amazing. This tastes so good. And you're getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. And then you get about halfway through and you're like, this is good. I'm enjoying this. But then after a while, your mouth starts feeling sticky and you're kind of losing the flavor for it a little bit. And you're just kind of eating it to clean your plate. And honestly, you're not really getting all that much more enjoyment and pleasure from the cake. So the recommendation in this source that I was learning from was saying, take the cake, split it in half or split it into thirds. Because that way you eat a third of the cake and you get the most enjoyable part still, but you stop consuming it when you're no longer really getting much out of it. So you have much less sugar, much less calories, much less, but you're still getting most of the benefit, most of the enjoyment of it. And then you put the cake in the fridge. Then the next day or 2 days later, you're like, oh, dude, I got that chocolate cake. Yeah, money, score. And you eat the next third or half. And again, you get all that benefit. You get all that enjoyment. Oh, this is the best chocolate cake. And then you do it again the next day or later on. So now you've gotten 3 times the enjoyment from one piece of chocolate cake while spreading out your calories and your fat and your sugar and all of that over 3 days. So it's a much lower impact. So this is the art of getting more from relatively less, is recognizing when you're getting the most benefit is in the beginning, and drowning it out for longer and longer and longer is not only potentially detrimental down the road if you go on long enough, but you're getting the most out of it. You're getting the best part of it, right? It's like my sister, when we were growing up and we'd have pizza, she never ate the crusts. And I was like, don't you eat your crust? You should eat your crust. My grandfather used to give her crap for that all the time. And she's like, but the best part of it is, with the cheese and the toppings and everything like that. And she was getting arguably more out of her pizza than we were, because we were like, okay, crust, and you're just chomping on stale bread and everything. But she's getting the best parts of the pizza. And that's basically what micro workouts are doing, is they're helping you get that initial oomph that you gain from enjoying the start of the workout, so the most beneficial part of the workout, and you're trimming all the fat. The stuff that, technically it does something, but don't forget that because you have diminishing rate of return, you also have exponential increase in cost. So working out for 10 minutes at the beginning of your workout is a very different experience than working out for 10 minutes after an hour and a half or 2 hours. All right, at that point, you're just doing it to get through it. You're tired and you're achy, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm slogging through here. You don't feel that rush of the pump. You don't feel that burst of energy that comes from that first 10 minutes of the real good stuff. So that's what micro workouts does, is it's like taking the sweetest fruit off the vine and saying, we're going to concentrate on the stuff that's the best and not settle for the sort of things. Get to some questions here. Boring accountant, thank you very much for the tip, my friend. Start with love and workout will follow. Very good. Love your body, love yourself, love your workout. Don't fear the workout. Love any workout and you will improve yourself. There was a time when I was like, I heard these ideas out there of people like talking about self-love and self-appreciation and things of that nature as being a foundation for success. And I was always kind of like, okay, whatever. It's a little woo-woo for me kind of stuff. Like I like to go off of hard data and science and stuff. But you know what, boring accountant, you are so right. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to desire and motivation. Again, feelings trump knowledge when it comes to your actions. I will take belief over education any day of the week. Of course, there's limits to that. I can't jump off a bridge and believe I'm gonna fly. Of course, reality catches up with you. But at I keep saying that, sorry. But the reality is that our path, our destiny of what we want to achieve is made through choices and our habits. And those things are predicated far more based on our beliefs and feelings than anything else. You can know everything there is to know about fat loss, but if you don't believe it's possible, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe you can do it, there's not a chance in hell that you're going to actually be able to be successful, even if you know all of the science behind it. Because we do that which we feel. Our beliefs, our feelings are what are largely influencing our behaviors. And in general, generalization here, but in general, you will make much better decisions and have much stronger beliefs and develop much better habits when you're coming from a positive place. You cannot create positive results when you're coming from a negative place, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I've had this happen very big over the past couple of years. Last year, in fact, and the year before that, I was in a real dark place for myself. A lot of anxiety, a lot of self negative talk. No one never like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're so stupid. These negative thoughts going through my head 24/7. And believe me, it was like pulling teeth to have a good workout under those conditions. It was like really hard to have a good diet, to force myself to do these things to any level. But this year, it's like night and day. I'm in a much better place right now. I'm in a very self-positive place, self-appreciation, self-esteem. And trust me, workouts and everything, it's like falling off a log. It's so easy now. because I'm coming from a much more positive emotional place. So even though, my friends, you listen to Boring Accountant here, he talks about the power of love. Huey Lewis in the News, they had it right. If you are coming from a more positive place, or at least a neutral place, you're going to have a much better time at this sort of thing. And so let's tie that back into micro workouts, right? So many people are killing their motivation and their self-appreciation of the exercise by doing too much. The number one reason why people fail to get what they want in life is because they're working too darn hard. They're spending way too much time and way too much energy. They're basically running themselves mentally, emotionally, and physiologically bankrupt by trying to maximize and optimize their efforts. Whereas, I get a couple of good sets of pull-ups. I'm like, man, that felt amazing. I had 2 micro workouts today. One was an ELF workout. If you have my book on micro workouts, extension, lateral, and flexion. Took me maybe 5 minutes, if that. And I was on cloud 9, because the reason why I had to be so short is I had a client coming in. I was on cloud 9 during that session. I felt amazing. It's like, I love these exercises, love what I was doing and stuff, because I wasn't running myself into the ground to the point where I didn't like doing it. Several weeks ago, I got an invitation from a friend of mine for a bike ride. And he's like, hey man, I'm going to go do this bike ride, yada, yada. And I had many reasons why I turned him down. But one of the biggest reasons I did is I've realized for myself that I don't like doing things that I love to the degree where I no longer love doing them. Yeah, I ride my bike an hour, awesome, love it. 2 hours, pretty darn good. I enjoy it. 3 hours, it's a challenge. It's starting to get pretty hard. Once I'm past that 3-hour mark, I'm like, I'm just riding to get home. Like, I want it to be over. I want this to be done. I'm not having fun. It's like, yeah, it's burning a lot of calories. Okay, but what do I care? Right? And that's why I don't do those rides anymore. I'm going to get what I want from my bike rides in an hour or even 45 minutes sometimes, which in the cycling world, that's a micro workout. That's really short. But I'm doing it because I'm only getting, again, the sweet part of the fruit. I'm throwing away the pit and the core and all the stuff that doesn't make me happy. And so that's why micro workouts can foster those positive vibes about those workouts. If you finish a workout and short time after, or even after, we're like, man, I can't wait to do that again. You're on the right track. If you finish a workout and you're like, oh, that sucked. Oh, but at least I get to, take 4 days off before I have to do that again. Maybe shorten things up a little bit. Robert Van Darth, good point here, saying we're so addicted to accumulating fatigue, we are sold that by the industry, the American fitness complex. And don't forget, friends, that a lot of times we over-rely on fatigue and how much effort we're putting in as a sign that what we're doing is effective when we don't know how to actually make our workouts effective. And this is what I cover in my book in greater detail, but one of the biggest reasons why micro workouts work is because they cut out all the fat, or most of the fat, and help you focus like a laser on the stuff that's actually going to be effective. And that comes from addressing the 3, fundamental objectives in fitness. As I've said in Be Fit, Live Free and a lot of my other stuff and approaches, that your workouts are not effective because of how hard you work. They're not effective because of the workout training formula you follow. They're not effective because of how much blood, sweat, and tears you put in. Again, yes, heavy correlation, very heavily correlation. I'm not saying that doesn't matter. I'm saying that's not why they're effective. They are effective because of how much you achieve fundamental objectives in fitness. That's what makes your workout effective. If you can achieve the fundamental objective that's in alignment with your results, if you can achieve that objective more in 10 minutes than you would otherwise with this other workout in an hour, you will get much better results from that 10 minutes. Because it's not about, oh, I spent, an hour in the gym. It's how much of that objective can you fulfill. It lasers you in on achieving that which actually makes it effective. But if you don't know what that objective is, when you don't know what your effective ingredient, if you will, is in your workouts, then you're just groping around in the dark, hoping to get what you want through luck. And the only metric you have for any sort of chance that what you're doing is more effective is just putting in more time and effort. That's all you've got to go on. And that's not a very effective way to go about it. It's like saying, I want to make a lot of money. Great. What is your chance? I'm going to just play the lottery a whole lot. Like, no, this is not a good strategy, right? Versus I'm going to actually produce a lot of value in the world and I'm going to ask for money for that. That's going to be a hell of a lot more effective. But if you don't know what that is or how to do that, then yeah, you resort to luck. And and that can be a very hard thing. But again, that's the hard lesson to learn here, folks. You know, people all the time when we start talking fitness at parties, like people want a shortcut, people want the easy way out, people want the magic pill. I highly disagree. I am in the business of making things easier for people in fitness. I am in the business of making things faster, cheaper, easier, quicker, less effort. And trust me, no one wants it. No one wants that. If I tell someone I can give you a better workout in 10 minutes than you can do on your own in an hour, they'll be like, no, thanks, I'll take the hour. Because we, as you were saying, Robert, you know, there's that addiction, that emotional, it has nothing to do with logic, folks. It's all in our heart. Remember, we are controlled by our feelings. Our life depends on how you feel about things. And if you feel that your results depend much more on blood, sweat, and tears and exhausting yourself, as opposed to the objective, that's what you're going to pursue. End of discussion. I can bring you all the science. I can bring everything as far as reality of this. But if I can't change your feelings, and that's what I'm trying to figure out now is emotional conditioning, then I'm just here flapping my gums. It's a complete waste of time for you to know this stuff. Complete waste of time. Because at the end of the day, I know I keep saying that. At the end of the day, again, we should make it a drinking game. Every time Matt says the end of the day, we take a drink, right? Because, oh gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry, folks. But you're going to do what you want to do. That's the bottom line. You're going to do what you want to do. You're going to do what you feel like. And if we can't change what you want, then you're always going to do what you've always done. And there's that idea out there. If you always do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always had or got. And that's true. But then the question is, well, how do you change? Because change is really hard. You have to change things on the emotional level first. You cannot change otherwise. Remember, the fundamental level, the rock bottom level of how things are working in life is where the true changes happen. If you try and change all the superficial stuff, but you ignore all the deeper stuff, and for human beings, that's the emotional side of things, then you're just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic again. So we got to have a different orientation of feeling. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to do in today's episode is change how we feel about shorter workouts, the benefits, the joys, the ways that they can be amazing for you. But if you don't feel that, you're like, I hear what you're saying, Matt. I just don't quite feel that way. It's like, yeah, I know. And it takes time to change feelings. I get it. It's not an easy overnight thing, although sometimes it can certainly change overnight if you've got the right thing that you experience. So let's go. I'm back to why micro workouts effective. So we talked about the fundamental objectives. And again, I go over these much more in the book, but we've got the objective of neuromuscular conditioning. So time and volume. So you're either trained for strength, trained for endurance, or you're trained for hypertrophy. And again, all objectives are always obtained. It's just which ones are you emphasizing to get more of. Strength is about more tension in the muscle. Endurance is about more volume or time relative to rest. And hypertrophy is creating neuromuscular fatigue. Now, Robert was talking about addiction to fatigue, and I completely agree because it's not just fatigue. Like I can make you do 1,000,000 burpees and make you so exhausted you can barely stand on your own 2 feet. That doesn't mean it's going to be good for hypertrophy. I'm talking about the muscular fatigue itself, intramuscular fatigue, the work capacity of the muscle tissue itself, which is not just going to happen if you do 1,000,000 push-ups. It's not going to happen if you just go to failure all the time. It's an art and science to it as well. Then you've got performance or proficiency, in which case you are practicing just doing the thing better, right? So I can give you a number of things to do in a workout, but if that doesn't actually work on the skill that you're trying to improve, it doesn't really do you much good in that, I'm in the martial arts. I can practice a sidekick 10 times. That's going to do a hell of a lot more for my sidekick than lifting weights for 3 hours a day in the gym, just because it's specific. It's going right after the objective. And then the final objective, and again, I cover this one much more in depth in my book because it's the one that seems to be backwards, but it's really actually forwards, is energy expenditure, burning fat and calories a lot of times. And a lot of folks will call me out on that, say, Matt, but I thought you said that the most influential variable of burning a lot of fat and calories is time. That's 100% right. You want to burn a lot of fat and calories, you got to put in a crap ton of time. A lot of time. A lot of time. The more you do, the more you burn. It's that simple. And it's physiologically impossible to burn a lot of fat and calories with a short workout. Just can't be done. I don't care how hard you work. I don't care how much muscle you use. I don't care if there's epoch. I don't care about that stuff. It's just in 15 minutes, you just cannot burn a lot. You just don't have the time for it. So a lot of people say, well, okay, micro workouts doesn't work, but I've got the ultimate micro workout for that, which is nothing. Nothing. You don't do anything for burning fat and calories at all. You can't get much more micro than zero. And the reason for that is because you burn fat and calories doing anything. There's no such thing as weight loss or fat burning exercise because everything burns fat and calories. So what do I mean by that is you just take the whole calorie and fat burning thing right off the table. I honestly do not give one lick if I ever burn fat and calories in my workout. It's totally not important to me. It doesn't matter. Why? Because I know I'm going to burn fat and calories doing everything else anyway. Right? When I go for my mountain bike rides, when I go skiing, when I practice my taekwondo and I lift weights and I'm training clients at the gym and I walk out to my car and I've got a million things that burn fat and calorie already. I don't need to do other exercise for that sake. Now, it could be a little bit different if you're burning, as I mentioned, sometimes burning energy is not about fat and calories, it's about emotional energy and stuff. And again, you'll get that with a lot of stuff. But sometimes it could be good to just be like, okay, I'm going to go down in the basement and I'm going to hit the mother living heck out of that hanging bag because I've had one of those days. And so you just set a timer for, let's say a Tabata, right? 4 minutes, one of the many micro workout strategies that I discuss. And you just go AWOL on that hanging bag. And afterwards, you're like, oh, thank God. Oh, it just feels so good to get that out. Okay, there you go. That's great. Good stress relief. But when it comes to fat and calories, you just can't do it quickly. There's just no way. It just doesn't happen. You will accelerate the speed at which you burn fat and calories when you're physically active and moving at a higher intensity. Absolutely. But you just can't do it with a short period of time. So the reason why micro workouts works is because you're able to go after those objectives so much better and trim the fat. This is one of the big reasons why I had a short stint with Metcons and CrossFit and stuff back in the day. But I was like, dude, I just want to build muscle and strength. I don't give a damn about my ability to do burpees. I don't care about doing 90% of this stuff. So here I am. I'm in this workout. It took me 45 minutes to go through, and there was one exercise that maybe created the stimulus I wanted for about 30 seconds. Like, why don't I just do that instead of all this other stuff? The more focused you are on what you want and what is effective for helping you get what you want, the more you can just hack out all of the inessentials. But again, if your litmus test of what is effective is kicking your butt, and effort and exhaustion and fatigue, then you'll settle for whatever comes to you. It's kind of like someone saying, I want to improve my diet. I want to eat healthier. I want to have a healthier diet. And I'm just going to go and just say, okay, to the chef, bring me fuck all. I don't care. Whatever. Pardon my French. Bring me whatever food. French fries, onion rings, pizza that's 3 days old. I don't care. I got to eat a lot of food. That's literally what we're doing with workouts half the time. If you want to improve your diet, you have to choose what's going to be the most satisfying for your appetites, your 4 fundamental appetites. That's what makes your diet more healthy, effective, if you will. But if you don't care about what you eat or how much you eat, and you're just satisfied, you're just trying to eat as much as possible, that's not going to be a healthy diet. But that's exactly the strategy we have with working out. We're just trying to work out as hard and as much as possible. And Robert in his area, yeah, going to failure has its own effects, however. Yeah, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. That's why you need to know what you want. That's why you need to know your objectives, because so many variables in training can be either very good or very bad for your results. If you came to me and you're like, I want to train for hypertrophy, I'd be like, yeah, okay, push into that fatigue failure. Okay, that's one of our best friends. We're going to use that. We're going to use it fairly often. We're going to use it in a smart way, but that's definitely something we want. We're going to go for that at least some of the time. But if you came to me and you're like, I want to train for proficiency, I want to train for strength, I'm like, yeah, failure is not a good strategy right now. That is not what's going to help us. That's going to hurt our progress. And it's all about, again, knowing what that objective is. Because if you don't know what the objective is and you don't know what your goals are and you don't know how to sufficiently achieve that objective, which is not rocket science, then you'll just accept anything that comes your way. You'll just accept anything that just seems to make sense, that feels about right. And once again, now you're not basing your workouts on anything tangible, on anything with some scientific substance to it. You're just going off of whatever. I guess it makes sense. And then that's just bro science right there. A couple other questions. One finger push-up feeling on supplemented creatine. It's pretty much about the only supplement I would ever say probably has some value, but again, don't expect miracles from it. Most of us don't train nearly hard or frequent enough to get much benefit out of it. But at the same time, it's like one of the most benign supplements out there. So, you know, when people ask me that, I'm like, try it, see what happens. You know, it's one of those things. It's like it's really hard to have a detrimental impact from it, and so you're probably only going to get a benefit, if any benefit at all, which is a big if, but it might happen. And it's cheap as dirt too, so I say go for it, see what happens. And I throw it in every once in a while whenever I'm, you know, really more physically active, but I don't really expect anything out of it. Larry, if let's say we have a day off and plan on doing a good long workout, yes, wouldn't that stop you from 10 to 15-minute workout the night before due to recovery? No, not really, because here's another benefit of your micro workouts is, remember, you don't have to recover from working out. You don't have to, because working out in and of itself is a complete myth. There's technically no such thing as workout. It is a figment of our imagination. It's like, you know, leopard printed unicorns. Working out is not a real thing in the eyes of Mother Nature. All your body knows is physical demand. Your body doesn't know the difference between running up a flight of stairs and climbing a Stairmaster, picking up a laundry basket and deadlifting a barbell of, you know, equivalent weight or whatever, because all it knows is physical demand. So when it comes to, I don't know about short workouts or anything, well, you don't even need a workout at all, because you don't get results from working out. You get results from creating a stimulus by achieving one of those fundamental objectives. And that you can achieve that as stimulus 100 million ways. So let me give you this example, right? You've got Mary, for example, middle-aged housewife, dedicated fitness nut, named her dog Kilo, and you know is a complete fitness aficionado. Drives to the gym for 20 minutes, finally finds a parking space, goes into the gym. Oh, the membership has long lapsed. Okay, good. She spends 10 minutes in the office. Okay, shoot, they're raising their rates, negotiation. Okay, now I've got the rate that I want. All right, good. Time to go in and actually do the workout. Go in, change into your high-priced Lululemon athleisure wear. Good. Oh, don't forget your headphones. Find that playlist you spent 20 minutes making the other day. Okay, good. Now you're ready to go. Oh yeah, you got your pre-workout, plus these pills that are also in your supplement bag and you don't even know what they are anymore, but you just keep consuming them out of blind habit. Maybe they do something, who knows? So you got to choke that sucker down over the next 10 minutes. Good. Now it's on to the warm-up area. And you got that IT band, so you got to roll that sucker out, and you've got the stretching, you got mobility work, plus you've been reading Supple Leopard every night for an hour and a half. So you've got 15 mobility exercises you have to put yourself through. And then after that, okay, now it's time to continue with the warm up. Run on the treadmill for 15 minutes and get up a good sweat. Okay, don't forget. All right, change the playlist to something else for the cardio. And then after that, now you go over to the weight room. You got to be able to make sure that your shoulders are in good mobility. So you get a couple of simple shoulder extension exercises on some bands, some rotator cuff work. Head over to the lat pull down, select 85 pounds because that's what you've been on for the past 6 months, and you do your coveted 3 sets of 10 that is dutifully done in your program. Couple that with Gary. Gary's waiting for the water to boil for his spaghetti. He jumps onto the doorway, pull-up bar, and bangs out a set. Which one of them got the better stimulus? Well, obviously, at this point, you should know my rhetoric, but Gary by a mile. Gary got so much more done in that single set of pull-ups than Mary did from all of that other work. Why? Because he cut out all the fluff. He went directly for what he was after. And that's all it took. And he created that stimulus for getting better at pull-ups. Maybe he was working on something like keeping his shoulders back. So he got 10 repetitions, kept his shoulders back for 8 instead of 6 repetitions like he did the day before. Good. Gary wins. It's that simple. Does Gary need 48 hours of recovery from that? No, because he didn't do anything that elicited a lot of stress and fatigue. So this is the roundabout way here, Larry. You don't need to recover from working out because working out's not a real thing. You only need to create a stimulus, and fatigue sometimes is correlated to that stimulus, like hypertrophy, but not always, not always. So that's, again, why the micro workouts can work, because if you're creating the stimulus and your fatigue is significantly less, your recovery is much, much faster. Yeah, you can do anything all the time. You can work out every single day. If you can go, go. So no, it may not stop you due to recovery. You don't need 48 hours of bed rest from 10 minutes of activity. Because, and this is one of the weird things, again, working out. We think a workout is a special thing. Back in the day, one summer I would go to Taekwondo class and I would be like, I've got to eat a lot of food because I'm going to Taekwondo class, even though we might just sit there and meditate for 20 minutes, right? But that same summer, I was washing cars. That was my first ever job at a Volvo dealership, washing cars by hand, exhausting myself, barely ate anything all day, even though I was literally physically active for 9 straight hours. But it wasn't a workout, so therefore I didn't need the food, right? Careful about the labels we put on things, folks, because again, labels change how we feel about things. And that isn't always in step with reality, and it can lead you astray. I know it's a long rant and ramble there, Larry, but the bottom line is, if you can go, go. You can do a workout every single day. You can do a workout multiple times a day. I do several micro workouts every day, actually. Sometimes I'll get a day where I don't really do much of anything, but yeah, most of my workouts now are micro workouts, largely because I just don't have the time to do anything longer. And no, I don't need to recover much from that because it's not that much fatigue. It's not that much work. Angelo is saying, unfortunately, our ego makes us stubbornly want to do too much. Yeah, it is often an ego thing. I suffer from this too much, which is why I have recently started push-pull legs routine, hoping that this time I will stick to it. So remember, folks, a lot of times sticking to things is because we're working too hard. Too much work, too much effort, too much stress kills motivation, because our emotional motivation, our lifeblood of our training, of our habits, depends on how we feel about the habits we're engaging in. I could give you 100 million reasons why pull-ups are awesome. If you don't feel positive about pull-ups, you're not going to do them. I can maybe force you at gunpoint, but as soon as I'm not there anymore, you're not going to do them. So what big deal and stuff. So it's not about laziness or anything. It's about maintaining motivation to be productive, because your subconscious that controls your beliefs, controls your emotional fuel, aka your motivation, and that controls your habits and your behaviors. It doesn't care if something's effective. It cares if something's worthwhile. And if it's a very high cost to low relative benefit, you're not going to feel something's worthwhile. Motivation tanks, you're not going to do it. And so we really got to be protective about our motivation. We really, really need to protect our motivation like we protect our physical energy level. If you're like, gosh, I'm so exhausted, like, what is wrong with me? We would see a doctor. We would look at our diet. We would look at our lifestyle and be like, why am I exhausted all the time? This is not right. This is not good. And yet, when motivation is starting to crater, we kind of sweep it under the rug and told to just do it and chalk it up to, oh, you're just not disciplined enough. Screw that. You need to have that motivation as much as you need the blood going through your veins, because that's what's going to basically dictate your behaviors. And if you don't have motivation for it, you're just not going to do it. Antonio C. I'm so stuck doing full body. I need to try this micro workout. Maybe I'll try splits in my 40s now. Yeah, sure. So that's part of the secret with my micro workouts too. In the book is it's like full body. Yeah, I mean I did a full body workout today in 5 minutes. It's an ELF workout, extension, lateral, and flexion chains. You know, it doesn't hit every muscle like crazy and stuff. I wouldn't expect it to build up my biceps or anything, but it's all three of the anatomical chains. I got bridges, I got side planks with a leg raise, and I got suspension knee tucks. I think it was 2 rounds of that, and I got a couple extra on the bridge just because it started to feel really good. And so that was it, but that covered everything, right? So full body can be great. PPL or PPS, push pull squat. I wrote the book on that for a reason. You know, you can circuit those things up and get done. I had a guy one time show up for a session. He was 40 minutes late. So he walked in expecting me to be like, oh yeah, sorry, you know, we'll have to reschedule. We'll have to. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm sorry, I was so late, and we're gonna have to do it another. I'm like, what are you talking about? Get your ass in the gym. It's like, but we only got like 15 minutes. I'm like, plenty of time. And believe me, he got what he wanted, and we still had time to spare. Partially because we're focused on the stimulus we're after, the objective. And we just basically did a push-pull squat circuit 3 times through. Took about 7 minutes. Done. And he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, I don't think I've ever worked so hard. My legs are shaking. It's like, yep, you worked really hard. You know, we can get it done in that. Nathan's asking, no days off? Sure, of course. Well, okay, so again, days off from what? Okay, so you're, again, working out is a figment of our imagination. It's a concept we dreamed up in order to have better control and regulate, creating a stimulus for the body, which is nothing more than a functional demand. Whenever we're working out, the only thing that's happening is we're saying, body, I need you to do this thing for me, whatever that is. And the body's like, oh, okay, I'm kind of not ready for that. I guess I'm going to have to adapt in order to accommodate that demand. That's all it is. But that's going on all the time, right? That happens 24/7. We're always creating a stimulus for our body. We're just not proactively managing it, controlling it. A workout is nothing more than saying, okay, this thing that is always happening completely on autopilot, I'm going to take some habits and actually proactively try to influence it. That's all working out is. So that's already happening. That's why everything in fitness works. Everything about fitness works because you're taking the fundamental processes of mother and human nature that are already happening completely on autopilot. They're going to keep happening 24/7 for the rest of your life. And you're just simply influencing that process in a proactive way. That's all fitness is. It's nothing special to it. And that's why it works. It's nothing special. You know, it's like when you go out for a run and you're like, oh my gosh, my heart rate is elevating. Yeah, because you're speeding up the thing that's already happening anyway, which is your heart rate's beating. You're burning fat and calories. Your metabolism is going, right? So no, you don't need days off because you don't get days off anyway. You're only taking a day off from taking proactive influence and control over it. That's all you're doing. But yeah, sure, take a day off. Why not? You know, I haven't. A couple weeks ago, I didn't ride my bike once for over a solid month. You know, it's just things kept coming up. I had a couple of trips. I didn't feel good one weekend. It was like 1 billion degrees out. I had other things that went on. A couple days ago, I had a plan to go out with a friend and ride Lookout Mountain. And they bailed on me kind of, and they're like, let's go get sushi instead. And I was like, all right, I could do sushi. I'm going to ride tonight. Well, then I got done with work, and boy, those storm clouds were coming in, and it was nasty weather. I'm like, all right, not riding tonight. I'm going to go in and have a beer. Do I think anything negative happened because of that? No. Would it have made really any difference? Well, honestly, I think I would have felt better if I went for the bike ride because I was kind of looking forward to it. I got an upgrade on my road bike I've been looking forward to trying. But no, it's like, okay, I had a rest day. Big deal. If I got a workout in, no big deal there either. My philosophy is always rest is needed. If you're tired, you're sore, you're stiff, you're achy, yeah, sure, give yourself rest, recover. But if you don't need to, don't worry about it. It's not something that's necessary because you're going to recover no matter what. Recovery happens again. All this stuff happens on autopilot. You don't need to do anything for recovery. Recovery is going to happen guaranteed. You don't have to do anything. Can you imagine if that were not the case? You stumble into a party, you're like, oh God, my legs. Oh, jeez. It's like, what's wrong with you? It's like, oh, not recovered from my last workout. I'm like, oh man, that sucks. When was that? 6 weeks ago. Like, what? Yeah, I didn't take a day off afterwards, and I didn't get my proprietary protein blend or whatever they're saying is so darn effective. So now I'm doomed to walk the earth for the rest of my life with sore and fatigued legs because I'll never recover. No, I guarantee you, you don't need to do anything for recovery. If you're eating, if you're sleeping, and you're getting some degree of time between sessions, I guarantee you're going to recover. Or you don't get a choice in that one. Ryan saying, yes, purchase your micro workout book, Push Pull Squat is genius. Thank you very much. Johnny Sins of Calisthenics. I had to look up Johnny Sins the other day. Someone keeps referencing that, and I'm like, oh, I wonder who this guy is. Oh, my goodness. That is not quite who I thought it was, but now I know. Shows how much in my social and pop culture references I get. But that's me. I live in my little cave, and I don't really watch screens very much. But thank you very much. I sincerely do appreciate it. Gromit, I love my training so much now that on my days off, I am like a junkie looking for the endorphin high that I get from pushing myself to get the stimulus for strength and hypertrophy. Yeah, so I say, Gromit, why give yourself those days off, right? Go for it. You want to train, go for it. Why not? You can split it up. Sometimes that's a smart way to go about it. Very rarely will I address strength training on all of my major muscle groups in a single day. Usually it's like, okay, today I hit my push chain and my squat chain. And tomorrow I'll get my pull chain and extension or something like that. So usually I'm not getting everything all at once because I do like working out on the daily, on a regular basis. And so that's one of the reasons why I split things up, because I don't want to take days off when I'm not doing anything. But yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff. You don't have to take days off if you don't want to. CE, I would say if you're an athlete and you need to be fresh for a competition or something, might be different. But for general fitness, not really necessary. It says, from a cardio perspective, would you say 4 15-minute sessions throughout the day is better than a single 1-hour session? Isn't the stimulus related to duration? Yes, you're 100% right. In many ways, that is going to be roughly the same. A lot of studies bear this out, that if you break up your workout throughout the day, it's going to be roughly the same thing. But remember that, like I said, you have a diminishing rate of return, and often the sweetest part of the fruit is in the beginning of your workouts. So if you had, let's say, a 15-minute session, you're like, it's only 15 minutes. I'm going to just kind of go a little higher on the intensity scale, and I'm going to push myself, and I'm going to really give myself a level of intensity and really kind of push. Okay, great. And then the next workout, several hours later, you're a little more rested. Great, you can push again. And then third workout, now I can push again. So, breaking it up like that conceivably could yield a better stimulus. But at that point, you may be just splitting hairs. So it's probably more down to, remember that personal preference is incredibly important for these things, folks. So when it comes down to, 4 times 15 or 1 hour and stuff, there's lots of different ways we can program our workouts and our diet. But a lot of it simply comes down to, what do you want to do? It's like, I'd rather get my whole thing done in 1 solid hour first thing in the morning, then I got the rest of the day ahead of me. Great, do that. Oh, I'd rather break it up and get little movement snacks and kind of wake me up a little bit throughout the day. Okay, then do that. We all have many reasons why we might choose A versus B. And a lot of times the actual logical, scientific reason between the two is not meaningful enough to override personal preference. So it's probably best with that sort of thing. Here's a question I often get with micro workouts, kind of like Grease the Groove. Not at all, my friend. Grease the Groove can be a form of micro workouts, but it's totally different in its objective. Grease the Groove is about proficiency. Okay, Grease the Groove is just practicing something for proficiency many times to get more practice in. So you could argue that's a form of micro workout, but there's lots of ways you can do. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of some other type of analogy, but as a friend of mine used to always say, you know, every square is a rhombus, but not every rhombus is a square kind of thing. So Grease the Groove is always a micro workout, but there's hundreds of different micro workout styles that are not Grease the Groove. If you're looking for ideas and stuff, go on my YouTube channel and just type in micro workout, and I've got hundreds of them there. I do lots and lots of micro workouts on my channel. I write them out. I've got them all over the place. You want micro workouts, full body, push, pull, squat, core, whatever you want. I've got loads of them there. Not a single one of them is Grease the Groove. So there's lots of ways we can do these sorts of things. So Nathan's following up on his recovery. What if you feel a little sore the day after? Yeah, so remember that soreness is inflammation. Just kind of, you did a little damage and you're recovering from it. So if you're really sore and it's going to impede your workout, then yeah, maybe just take some time off. But it's usually a better idea to just get a little blood flow in there. So that way you can speed up the healing and recovery by flushing out the inflammation. Usually when I'm first day of skiing for the ski season, my quads are killing me the next day. So I'll go for a bike ride or go taekwondo or something like that, work out the legs, break up the inflammation and recover a little faster. Technically, I don't think you actually recover faster. You just handle the symptom a little bit better, but still, it's worth doing. Abs Ben Mahidi. I think I finally pronounced that right, my friend. Hey, Matt, can you show me for a fix for forward neck? Because you fixed my posture with the exercise. Thank you. So remember that, you know, the quintessential, you know, they call it nerd neck. You hear like that. Believe it or not, that doesn't have a whole lot to do with your neck, you know, because that's what I had. If you go on my Instagram, search back enough, this is what I had. It was causing me all sorts of issues. And I went to the chiropractor and everything like that. And he's like, yeah, your neck is out of alignment. That's why your back hurts. Or sometimes it's like your back is, your neck is like that because of your back. So it's all about everything in the chain. So it depends on where your imbalances are. But I would say make sure you're doing your bridge work and look at packing your shoulders more aggressively too. So basically, I'll try and show here on the screen. We have a lot of habitual kyphotic posture, shoulders forward and up. And because that's going on, our neck goes forward like this. So if you try to fix your neck, but not the rest of your posture, you're now doing this kind of weird, awkward thing with your neck. And that's just going to create a lot of soreness. So packing your shoulders, which I've got many videos on over the past several weeks that I've been making, check those out for exercises. If you can pack and roll back your shoulders a lot more, suddenly this is uncomfortable and your neck naturally just comes back. You can also check the tool that I was using called a dinner roll, not dinner roll, D-I-N-N-E-R, like, you know, something you have at dinner, but dinner roll, D-E-N-N-E-R. Or AR it might be, or something. And it's basically a foam block, but it has a very specific curve on the top, and you lay with the back of your neck on it, and it brings your head back, and it kind of helps to fix things a little bit. So I would lay on the dinner roll for 5 minutes at a stretch on a daily basis, and that did a lot for me too. But I don't know if that's actually what you need, but basically think of your shoulders and your back, and that's what's going to be a good way to fix your neck. Nathan saying, micro workouts more effective for building muscle or strength. They can be, absolutely. So, but for the same reason of everything else. One, especially for muscle, is you've got to have habits that you can repeat on a consistent basis for long periods of time. And unfortunately, that's just really hard to do when people are running themselves ragged. So because of the consistency alone, chances are really good you can do that. I mean, I've got more muscle on my frame now than I've ever had. And I don't think I do any strength training that's beyond 15, 20 minutes. Haven't for years. Because I can get in there, pound the living hell out of the muscle, and leave. And it's not like I'm doing 1 or 2 sets to failure and calling it that. No, I'm still getting a good amount of volume and stuff. But it's because I can consistently get it. consistently hit it, that goes for that. And the other thing too is, again, getting really focused on what you're doing. I would hazard a guess, it is a guess, but an estimation that the majority of people in the gym, I would say probably about half of their time is completely wasted. It doesn't do anything for them. And out of that other half, probably 10 to 15 minutes of that is doing something, but probably not a whole heck of a lot. So again, a micro workout is like, okay, let's take the 15 minutes of a hour and a half long workout that's actually effective and just focus on that primarily. And so now you're still getting the same thing, but because you have less stress, so you recover faster, you can do it more frequently, you can do it with more consistency. You're not beating yourself up, so you have less injury because nothing will melt your gains like pain. You're much more able to focus on technique. I mean, everything that is a foundational variable to being able to create a stimulus elevates. So even though the stimulus itself may not be all that much greater initially, you're taking away a lot of the stuff that's holding you back, the brakes, in other words. And that's why I think micro workouts can go very well for the hypertrophy sort of thing. Comes back on, I think micro workouts goes well with high frequency training. Problem is causing golfer elbow and joint pain. Yeah, again, don't think of fixated of a workout here, folks. It doesn't have to be high frequency at all. Not at all. I still probably average training each of my major muscle groups about twice a week. That's it. I'm not doing it, every day, push-ups, 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 push-ups. I would say I'm not doing high frequency or high volume anything these days. I would say my volume and frequency is modest, or maybe even a little on the low side, if I'm honest with you. If anything, it doesn't need to be very frequent. It can be something that is much more modest as well. See, thank you very much for the tip, my friend. I do sincerely appreciate that. It follows up saying, when I started to shy away a bit from muscular failure and getting really tired, I gained good mass and mostly strength. Yeah, very good. Because a lot of times it's about what is the cost versus the benefit. You can always work harder. You can always do more work, but there's a point where you're no longer creating much of an effective stimulus. So this bears out a lot in the research, where they try to compare someone who does like 3 straight sets of a strength exercise versus this other group that took themselves to a much higher state of fatigue with something like drop sets, forced negatives, pause rep training, these sorts of things. Like, okay, this group trained for strength and hypertrophy with a fairly simple random, or not random, but run-of-the-mill strength. And this other group, we just blew them right out of the water every single time until they could barely walk. And a lot of times in the research, it's showing, yeah, there really wasn't much difference. But at the same time, the research does show that there is a correlation between volume and intensity, or how much work you do, and muscle growth. So there's basically, it's saying that you do need enough work. It's like everything else in fitness, especially with diet. You do need enough to create the benefit, but beyond that, you're not getting more benefit, and you're just expending time and money and energy and things like that. The art and science of it is, well, how do you know where that is? How do you know? So I'm still working on an answer for that one, but know that, yes, you do need enough work, but you don't get more benefit from endless work, kind of thing. And yeah, a lot of times it's objective based. Like, I can really push my muscles hard, but if you're really pushing your muscles, you just kind of hit this point where you're like, well, they're not really doing very much anymore. And that's usually a good sign of where to stop. McDrama Bear, it's good to see you. Saying isometric static holds paired with micro workouts very well. Good. I got great results doing 10 sets across the day, 1 per hour. You're always fresh for each set, and I build muscle, got stronger. It's a good strategy. Yeah, stuff like that can be a lot of fun to play with too. It can be really, really interesting. You have to experiment with it and see what you enjoy for yourself, but it can be a lot of fun to do that kind of thing. Set a timer and beep, time for my pull-ups kind of thing, or an isometric hold. So it's a fun way to address things. Just checking my notes here to see if I missed anything. Yeah, I think I covered all of my major points to make, but at the end of the day, folks, remember that it's not about the strategy that you're using. It's about how well you can achieve your fundamental objective. And you just use whatever strategy and habits you want in order to do that. Some of you are going to be able to do that a lot better with micro workouts. And there's a lot of different micro workout strategies. So that you can play around. Again, I've got a ton of videos on my site, on my Red Delta project, for lots of different ideas. Most of it's around split training, a lot of stuff. So if you search micro workout chest, micro workout legs, or whatever, you're going to come up with quite a few videos on that to give you some ideas. Gromit, good point here. We were talking about love earlier. I think just loving the training helps one recover faster. You may not be too far off there, Gromit, because sometimes when you're enjoying the training, you just put more emotional effort into it. You're not just getting through it. And because of that, you have better alignment and you're able to basically have less stress on your body potentially from it. And if you have less stress and fatigue, yeah, you're going to recover faster because you don't need to recover from working out. You recover from stress. So it's like out here, right? In Colorado, the weather is a huge variable. Sometimes I'll go out for a bike ride, hour-long bike ride, 90-degree heat, hot as hell. The sun is enough to melt your skin off. After that 1 hour, I'm like, oh gosh, I am a wreck the rest of the day. I'm a wreck the next day and probably the next day because that sun just sucks your soul right out of your body. But other times it's cool and overcast and stuff. I'll ride for 3 hours. Next day, yeah, I'll hit legs. There's a lot there. So a lot of it is environmental about such things. Evoz saying, I hate doing legs, so I turn it into something fun. Trip to the local parking garage for 20 flights of stairs for 10 sets of a different type of step, backwards, sideways, doubles, X. Love the creative aspect there, Evo. Love that. See, that friends, that's an example of someone who is creative, they're problem solving, they're disciplined about it because they're making decisions and they're basically just having the flexibility to do that. That is being fit and living free there, Evo. Congratulations. You inspire me with your work ethic, my friend. Very good. Gromit, this is a question I answered the other day. Another way, I still can't figure out how to fit in explosive movements like jump squats, though. I was going to try it after back bend or strength and hypertrophy, but it just seems unnecessary. I am truly tired. So put it in the beginning. So in the grind style calisthenics program, we put it in the proficiency phase or the strength phase, right? So if I were you, I would, sometimes I'll do this with clients at Capra where I'll say, okay, we're going to start off with some explosive stuff. And one of my favorite explosive moves right now that I really enjoy doing is rear foot suspended split squats. So I use the NOSC suspension trainers. Their rear foot is suspended about a foot or two off the ground, and they squat down on the front leg and they jump. So I'll give them 2 sets of 9, and good. Explosive work is done. Now we go into pistols or hover lunges or sissy squats or something of that nature. Remember, the explosiveness is about proficiency. It's not about building muscle and strength. So you don't need to exhaust yourself with that. You don't need a lot of volume and hard work. You just need it to some degree. So you just get a couple sets and you're done. Angelo saying, can you do micro workouts without warming up? Yes, for sure. So kind of like I was saying earlier about fat, the best micro workout strategy to fat loss is not to have anything at all. And it's kind of the same way with warming up too, is nothing, no warm up at all. Now, that's not always feasible, and it might be smart to do something. I talked in a video fairly recently about my love of T-planks. So pretty much if I'm going to do a micro workout, I'll do like 10 T-planks, just 1 and 2 and 3, and just get my shoulders packed, get my core working and my hips stable and everything like that. And I'll just do that real quick. I'm like, okay, now I'm good to go. Maybe just start the workout and just start doing a relatively lighter version of the set of the exercise rather than you're going to do. So if I'm going to do dips, then maybe I'll just hold up on a set of rings for 10 seconds just to get everything turned on, just to get it engaged and stuff. But yeah, remember that ideally you shouldn't have to really warm up very much. If someone comes to me and they're like, oh yeah, I spent half an hour warming up, I'm like, okay, A, I guarantee you're wasting a lot of time with that. B, If you do need half an hour of warming up, I guarantee it's not working very well, because ultimately a good warm up should do a heck of a lot more than just prepare you for the workout to come. And unfortunately, a lot of us have that low standard. It's like, okay, I'm warmed up, I'm feeling limber, and I'm ready to go. Okay, well, that's good, but in my mind, that's a pretty piss poor warm up, because a good warm up, a really good warm up, should be training in and of itself. And if your warm ups are really dialed in, you should find that your body is physiologically capable of physical activity to a higher level without any preparation whatsoever. So you should be able to jump out of bed, go, to some degree. Now, there's always your higher levels of ability that are only accessible with a good warm up, absolutely. But you should be able to do a lot of things cold. And if your warm ups are truly effective, they should have ripple effects throughout time. It's like, oh man, I used to have to go through stretches and do squats and everything before I could get into a real deep squat. But over time, I realized I didn't really need as many stretches. And I could get deeper in a squat without having to do anything. And then eventually you're like, now I can just deep squat and I don't have to warm up at all. That's how you know your warm-ups are really effective, because your workouts are based upon variables like mobility, tension control, stability. These are things that are your foundation to your ability to effectively train your body. So your warm-ups should be improving those qualities. I'm getting more stable. I'm getting more tension control. I'm able to engage my hips better. My hips are more mobile. My shoulders work better. It used to be really hard to pack my shoulders. Now I can pack my shoulders really easy and they're really rock solid. Good. Your warm-ups should still be making you a better athlete over time. And when you're a better athlete, when you're able to engage with more stability and proficiency and tension control and all, when all that improves, you don't need nearly as much of, or even any warm up at all over time. So yeah, the best warm up is the ones that you don't even need to do, because your body's ready to rock and roll anyway. And that's, again, the real micro of things. You don't get much more micro than zero. All right, last couple before I head back to work. Alex N, should upper body straight sets be structured as follows? First set doing the pull exercise and the push, or sets of the first pull exercise, then sets of the first push, and so on. You can do it either. Alex, probably doesn't matter one way or the other. Remember that we're just trying to achieve that fundamental objective. And as long as you're doing that and you're just getting the work in, you can pretty much order and program however you like. But if you personally find there's a difference, like, oh, wow, doing it this way is so much better, I just feel so much better about the exercise, I feel so much more in control, then listen to your body. Absolutely. All right. Simon, thank you very much for coming on. Much appreciated. Remember, folks, I put the audio of these up on your podcast directories a day or two after these go live anyway. So if you missed anything, or you want to catch stuff, don't forget to subscribe to the Red Delta Project podcast on your local podcast directories. And it's always up here on YouTube as well. So I got to go to work, make people train as well. But thank you very much for coming on in, folks. I did this today because I'm not quite sure I'm going to be able to get to the usual time tomorrow, Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I wanted to get at least this one taken care of for you in case I don't get to that, because I got some stuff in the morning. I'm not sure how long that's going to go. So I might have a podcast tomorrow. Maybe not. We shall see. But thank you, everybody, for coming on in. And I much appreciate it. So I will talk to you folks next time. Till then, be fit and live free.